There is a very cliched statement that age is only numbers.
You're 65 and yet you don't fit the stereotype of your age. What do you do that we don't?
People are now targeting to live forever.
In fact, it's been said that the first person to live up to 1,000 years has already been born.
Oh, society will completely transform. The people who are in their 50s and 60s now, they can have a happier, stronger, and richer life for the next 30 years than they ever could imagine. आकाश में भी छेद हो सकता है, एक पत्थर तो शौक से उछालो यारो.
क्या बात. Namaste and welcome to SOHAM SAṃvāda. Today's guest is not just a senior physician. He is someone who has quietly witnessed the full arc of modern medicine. Dr. Lokesh Abrol helped establish Gurugram's first multidisciplinary emergency medical care hospital back in 1991. Over 3.5 decades, he has treated thousands of patients across internal medicine, critical care, infections, and chronic disease. And yet, today, his work looks very different. He now devotes full time the well-being of underprivileged children through health, nutrition, education, music, and joy. His non-profit organization, Arvindam India Foundation, is an open-air Gurukul that feels less like an institution and more like a living healthspan laboratory. Dr. Abrol is also a founding member of SOHAM's Medical Advisory Panel and one of the several experienced physicians who have ratified SOHAM's diagnostic and supplementation framework. This conversation is not only about medicine, but also about aging, agency, longevity, and what it means to stay human in a world moving rapidly towards machines. Dr. Abrol, welcome.
Namaskar and thank you for the very warm introduction.
You began your career in emergency medicine, but somewhere down the line, you switched over, now running a open-air Gurukul for children. That's not the typical arc. What changed?
Back in 1991, it was emergency medicine. I came from Sir Gangaram Hospital in Delhi, started it right here in Gurgaon. It was at that time a very exciting, a very fulfilling thing to be doing because for long distances, there were no emergency medical hospitals. And it was a very exciting and fulfilling thing because you would save lives which would normally not be savable.
Right.
We continued doing it and people were grateful. We were happy, people were happy. But over a period of time, I realized that we were only treating disease. And the disease, when it came to us as an emergency, when the person had already been suffering with it for a long period of time, like in chronic disease form, metabolic syndromes, obesity, diabetes, hypertension, lack of exercise, stress, the root cause would still be there. The life would still be unwell life. So we were not focusing on prevention. We were not focusing on health. Now, somewhere down the line, a situation arose when I happened to start a library for slum children. In my afternoons, I would go there. I would play with them. There would be storytelling sessions. There would be singing, laughing, dancing. And that made me think. While in the hospital, we were tuned to treat disease. That is what the hospital was teaching us. And right here, these kids were teaching me love and laughter. They were teaching me life. They were teaching me health. That is what changed.
You're a strong believer in evidence-based medicine, and yet you say modern medicine is incomplete. Where does it fall short?
Actually, I would say modern medicine has made such remarkable growth over the past 3 decades. It doesn't actually fall short. Modern medicine has made treatment of disease so much possible. For example, with insulin, with antibiotics, with cancer treatments, with cardiac care, so much has changed that now people do not have to die once they reach the hospital and the disease is curable. Many incurable things have been made curable. The thing that modern medicine misses is that it goes from diagnostics to therapeutics to emergency care. But modern medicine has somewhere failed to look at the past knowledge and wisdom. The past knowledge and wisdom that focused on living and life itself, that focused on your activity, on your sleep patterns, on your stress relief, on your social bondings. Those are the things which are outside the hospitals.
Right.
Those things are now entering the hospitals, like in the form of functional medicine. We have to know more about diet. We now know more about nutrition. We have much more advancement. So when we bring together the past wisdom and the present knowledge, that together makes the most beautiful form of medicine that prevents disease, maintains health, enhances longevity, and enhances health span while compressing the sick span.
Was this something that you were taught at medical school, or was it just treating a disease and fixing that? And was the curriculum or your training also, I would say, focused a little bit, if not a lot, towards regenerative care or preventive care?
Social and preventive medicine is a full subject in medical college. Immunization, hygiene, exercise, mental health are a full subject in medical college. But somehow they have been relegated to the background for a long time.
That's what I thought.
Yes. So they never formed the core. That is the only thing that was missing. But now, with the present advancements and people's awareness, also about nutrition, about dietary deficiencies, about vitamin deficiencies, about mineral deficiencies, about obesity, so many new things, and people have now started researching it themselves. We are now in an aware world, a world that is aware and wants to go beyond what is present. And that is a very exciting frontier
Right.
that we are now trying to open up into by bringing in the information, the knowledge that is well curated and that is well utilizable for a healthy and happy days of life rather than just a long life.
You're 65, and yet you don't fit the stereotype of your age. What do you do that we don't?
There is a very cliched statement that age is only numbers. Yes, age is not just numbers, age is numbers, but what you have filled those numbers with is what matters. Have you grown old or have you matured? The best wines are aged wines. So, aging does not have to mean a decline. Aging can mean a growing in wisdom, growing in capability. In fact, when you live longer, if you put health into that part of life, you are stronger and younger at 65. I am stronger and younger at 65 than I was at 25. I know that for sure. So why can't you and why can't everyone else?
Absolutely. So you're the inspiration.
I have inspirations beyond myself. I heard of a doctor who got operated, he got a cardiac surgery at the age of 99. I have read of a woman who started exercising at 68 and are now gym trainers, bodybuilders, and have done the full Ironman at 95. Well, they are the inspiration. I would love to be doing that at 110. And I would love each one of my patients, my friends, each one of my Aravandam kids to be doing that.
All right. So 120 or 150. Why not even 150? In fact.
Actually, people are now targeting to live forever because
Absolutely.
with those coming advancements over the next 10, 15, 20, 30 years, those of us who are alive 30 years from now, we have no idea how much the regenerative medicine would have advanced
Absolutely.
and how much longer or maybe indefinitely the present generation could live if they have enough resources, enough knowledge, enough discipline.
In fact, it's been said that the first person to live up to 1,000 years has already been born. So, it sounds very dystopic right now that, wow, this is crazy. And when I talk to people and I say that Soham's, ethos or our main, driving principle is live your 150, they're like, why would I even want to live to 150? But it's not about why do you want to live, it's more about will you be able to? And if you're able to, then you'll have to find a reason to why you want to live to 150 or even more than that. So yeah, but I think the whole point is to start. Coming back to what you said earlier, is to start. It doesn't matter when you start, how you start. It doesn't have to be this or that. Whatever you start with, so long as you follow the principles of movement and breath and nutrition and relaxation and mindfulness, you will be able to, as you said, a 95-year-old running an Ironman, you will be able to get there. But you have to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
One line we say at Soham all the time is that you're the pilot and Soham is the co pilot. As a doctor, does that concern you?
Oh, that's so interesting, actually. That's so exciting. To have my patient as the pilot, as a very well informed person, it's a privilege. And why would I just be a co pilot? I am a co pilot who assesses, who is a trainer, who is a coach, who assesses the pilot's work, the machine's work, the diagnostics, the therapeutics, who assesses all of that lifespan and then keeps guiding, nudging, advising. So I basically am the rudder man who gives direction to which way the pilot is flying. So I can correct the course, I can do a course correction for the pilot. So yes, my patient, my client, my friend needs to be the pilot, needs to be in charge of their own life, because that is where discipline, motivation will come from.
Correct.
I am the person who is going to provide the inspiration and provide the direction and add to the knowledge on the basis of all the inputs that we have from modern science, attach it to whatever informations we have from ancient wisdom, and make it into a futuristic program.
I've been wondering what made you say yes to join Soham's medical advisory panel?
That is something, because I have been very skeptical or wary of medical and pharmaceutical and diagnostic platforms. I have never been on any of them. But with the Soham team, I have had a long discussion, and over several cups of coffee, we have had discussions. And I understood the ethos behind it. And by being on the board as a medical consultant, I definitely can ensure that the ship is steered on the right path, because I stay only as long as the ship is on the right path. I found Soham's ethos very appealing, because it marries the ancient wisdom, it marries the yoga, the meditation, the intuitive learning to the modern medicine and to the futuristic regenerative medicine. So it is science and philosophy coming together, and that's very close to my heart, because I strongly believe that this is the way to go, and this is the future of medicine. You may be looking at it as the future of Soham. I am looking at it as a future of mankind.
Because and thank you for all the confidence and faith that you've reposed in us. But for me personally, Soham is a movement, and it is something that I have been uncompromising about. It's from lived experience. I have experienced this for years and years before I actually converted it into something that you will soon see in the form of as you like to call it in the market, a product. But it's not really a product, it's a movement for me. And it's been in my head for more than 10 years, and only now I've been able to bring it forth, because I needed it to be completely disciplined, completely transparent, and completely driven by facts, and facts that I've tested on myself. So hearing that from you, I think is very heartening, and this is also what I've been hearing from other esteemed medical practitioners that I've been speaking to about Soham, and that gives me confidence that when we go out and recommend things to people, or suggest, as you said, be the co-pilot for people for their health span and for their general health and well-being, it will be coming from real evidence. It will be coming from not just someone said it, so we'll say it too, but based on fact and based on truth. So many platforms, as you said, talk about yoga, talk about health and wellness, but very few physicians, if any, endorse yoga as a way of life. Why do you?
I think a lot of physicians, maybe maybe all of them or many of them, actually practice yoga. So I do not hide what I am because that is what is right for the people who are around me. So if I am the pilot or the co-pilot or the rudder man, I need to be I need to be truthful, and the truth be said that our ancient wisdom, and now we are actually I guess it is a question of being confident about yourself. If I'm confident about my medicine, I will not be insecure about saying that yoga is great. So my medicine, the allopathic medicine that I practice, and even combining it with the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda or yoga or meditation, to me there is no discrepancy between these.
They're talking the same language.
It's the same language, they are complementary. It is a natural progression. A natural progression from physical well being, mental well being, good dietary habits, good hygiene, good bodily systems, good health. And then, if disease strikes, we are there to treat it with modern medicine.
Correct.
And if when things go wrong in the organs, regenerative medicine is coming in.
Sure. Yeah, I think it kind of gives me great confidence to actually build something which is at the intersection of ancient wisdom of yoga, modern science, which, as you rightly said, is exponentially developing and will grow way more in the next 10 years or so, especially for midlifers like us who are at that edge. We will be the first generation who can actually benefit from this change. Our children will anyway benefit from it, but we will be the first to actually make use of it if we can live the 10 years ahead in good health and we can take care of ourselves. And thirdly, with AI coming in such a way that Soham marrying these three concepts and being at the intersection of yoga, modern science, and AI is, I think, very exciting as far as I'm concerned, and that's why I look forward to bringing it out there.
Yeah, exactly.
So, doctor, आपको क्या लगता है? What do you think will have to be done to move that that to reach that age of 150 and to make it possible?
We will just have to believe in it. Because now the growth in medicine is not just linear, it's exponential. With artificial intelligence, the number of things that can be assessed and the speed at which the knowledge grows is actually exponential.
Right.
And for those who are willing to invest their time and energy, to put discipline into their lives, to follow all the wealth of information that is available now because of artificial intelligence. And well, after artificial intelligence, there's going to be super intelligence.
Sure.
And that's just round the corner, maybe 5 years down the line.
Maybe less.
Maybe less. So if we have enough discipline to grasp the moment and the occasion, then we are at the right position. You as Soham are entering into this domain, into this territory. I as Aravindam am already working at creating beautiful lives.
Yeah, because you've actually, you've transcended that stage where, as you said earlier, that disease has to be treated, and you're actually working with a generation where actually health begins. So, and I think
Exactly.
that's a beautiful thing because you're starting from the beginning and then moving upward.
Exactly.
So that's a beautiful arc, of course, and I think I think that's exactly where humanity is headed. But that brings me to my next question of, obviously, with people living much longer in the very near future, how is society going to change?
Oh, society will completely transform. It's not just about living longer. It is about AI and robotics. It is about a lot of work being taken over by machines. A lot of work being taken over by the intelligence that is beyond us, that is thousands of times ahead of us. So, a huge number of people will be jobless. But will they be penniless? No. Because the governments around the world will have to come in with universal basic income. They are already talking about it. In fact, Elon Musk recently talked about universal high income. And when that universal basic income or universal high income becomes a reality, that money is going to come into the pockets of people, and those people need to know how to use it, or else they become addicts, or they just become sad and depressed, not knowing what to do with their time. That is where we come in. Love and life and laughter, art and music, stillness and spiritualism, action and inaction, all of these knowledge, that is what we are bringing forth.
As machines and AI exponentially grow, what does staying human actually mean?
Let the machines grow, let the AI grow. They will bring in the IQ, which is far, far, far ahead of us. We can't compete with them. But we are the humans, we are the creators, we are the people who think, we are the people who feel. Thinking the machines can take, but the feeling, not yet.
Consciousness?
Consciousness, not at all. Artificial consciousness, maybe, but consciousness, not. So that is our forte. And as I talked about spiritualism, I talked about music, about dance, about art, we are going back to those beautiful times when the sages lived on this earth and they created thoughts and philosophies that 7,000 years later still hold true. We will possibly now be embarking on an era where the machines will take up all the work.
Right.
They will earn the money, they will pay the taxes, and we will be paid a universal high income to be creating the same knowledge, the wisdom, the art, the music that our ancient sages did, the same philosophies. People who sitting here and without much in their hands were able to calculate the distance from here to the sun to the moon. That was mathematics. The languages made by them are still relevant. And then in between, thousands of years came when people were out there as predators trying to occupy land, occupy territory, occupy mind, harvest souls, whatnot. And we lost that growth in spirituality. That is what we will be doing. That is what humans will be doing. And that is what will make the machines still bow in reverence to the humans.
So wealth will not be money. It will be your quality of life, what you do, when you have so much more spare time.
Thought, yep.
Your thought. And I think one thing that machines can never emulate or never do, which is very basic and we don't even think about it, is breath.
Exactly.
Machines can't breathe. And no matter how much you program them or how efficient they become, they don't need to breathe, but they don't know the beauty of breathing. And most of us don't even realize that we're breathing because we breathe very shallow and we don't. And how much breath can change your physiology, how much it can change your mind, how much it can change your outlook on life has to be experienced. There is no other way. And I think that probably, it's something that's not spoken about a lot, not experienced a lot. But probably from my perspective, out of the 7 pillars of SOHAM, proper breathing is the most important one. And, I can't lay enough emphasis, but yeah, hopefully, we will be able to bring that forward.
That is your dream.
So if a midlifer was listening to this today and wondering whether it was too late, what would you have to say?
These past few decades, people have started thinking that their job is to grow up, get some school, college degrees, get married, find a job, build a house, marry off the children. And that's the end of life. That's a very despondent way of thinking. and that needs to change, and that's what we will change. People have to realize life begins when you have completed your social obligations.
Correct.
Marrying is a social obligation. Producing kids, bringing them up, educating them, marrying them off, establishing them. Social obligations. Finished. Your life begins after that. Come on, start living. Not just go out for a walk. Go out for a jog. Climb the mountains. Cross the oceans.
But you have to be ready for that.
And you have to be ready for that. But you will be ready for that only when you believe in yourself.
Of course.
When you know that this is the beginning of the life, not the end.
Because at 65, you're still 10 years away from your midlife.
I think I am still in my teenage because I am constantly surrounded by children who are less than 16. And I see that love and life and laughter in them. That is what I feel. I have no idea of leaving this earth till I see them growing old.
Correct.
And growing old with strong in limbs and strong in body, strong in mind, and dancing their Bharatanatyam and their Kathak and their Kalaripat and singing their songs of joy. My life has just begun. Actually, the people who are in their 50s and 60s now, they can have a happier, stronger, and richer life and a more fulfilling life for the next 30 years than they ever could imagine for the last 30 when they were slogging it out to bring up their children. Now is the time. Just say yes to it.
So as I read somewhere, it's been said, I think I forget the name, but that if someone in their 40s can live well for the next 10 years, then they will be able to live for 50 years more. And I think that is so true, and we've discussed it already, but it's just something that comes back. So
yes, if they have the awareness and the discipline to follow it through.
Right. So if there's one thing I've taken away from this conversation, Doctor, it's that aging is optional. It is not something. It will happen to everybody. You will age, but it is not something that you need to be worried about. It is something that you can use to your benefit, to enjoy, to live a fuller life, and of course to live longer, but not just live longer, live well and longer. So thank you very much for agreeing to have this conversation, and all the best, and for many more years ahead. And thank you very much. Namaste.
Aging is for sure and decline is optional. Namaskar. Thank you.